Well, hello, my friends. I'm happy to be back. um, I'm really enjoying these questions you guys are putting up. And the other day, someone asked about the pandemic, and I did a video about the pandemic, and it got me thinking about something that I really want to talk about, and something I wanted to put out this morning. Um, I will continue to answer as many questions as I can, um, and I say that specifically that I can. I do not have an entire memory of that entire life. I have snippets of here and there. There are certain things that I just don't remember. That's not to say it didn't happen. That's not to say it did happen. It's to say that I don't know. And when something comes up that seems against pop culture belief, like the concept of Mary Magdalene having children or something like that, um, I'm not going to bow to pop culture belief. I'm going to always lean into what I remembered. Um, but I'm fallible. That brings me to the point of this. It really doesn't matter what happened 2,000 years ago. It really doesn't matter what happened yesterday. It only matters what's happening right now. It's the only moment we have to create our experience and create anything in our life. I think the information from years ago is fascinating and interesting, and a thing to be learned from. But I also think the teachings of Buddha and Krishna and all those ancient texts are to be learned from. But here's the big secret. Here's the big thing that most people miss. Universal truths are everywhere. And it's a matter of us looking for the universal truths and acknowledging and recognizing them when we see them. Universal truths have been in our pop culture forever. And to give you an example, back in the 1500s, a little play was written called Hamlet, right? And in there he says, words without thoughts never to heaven go, right? Words without belief don't go to the source. Words without thoughts never to heaven go. That's a universal truth. It's true. If you don't believe it, you're not going to receive it. And you can put out all the words you want, and you're never going to get it. He also said there are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in our philosophy. It's too broad for us to wrap our head around. And then if you want to bring it even closer to pop culture references, let's talk about our little green-eared guy, green pointy-eared guy named Yoda, right? Oh, do not, there is no try. That is absolute, complete truth. The words try are not doing. It's they're trying. And so that's fascinating. He also said, fear leads to the dark side. And, think about that. Buddha says the secret to enlightenment is the eradication of fear. That's a universal truth, right? Now, and I often talk about the concept of how you have to label it as fear before you can move on. But when you listen to Yoda, he says, named must your fear be, before banish it you can. These are universal truths, and the universal truths are everywhere, and it's just a matter of choosing to have the eyes to see, choosing to have the eyes to spot the universal truth. And when you're looking at the ancient texts and you're looking at what happened 2,000 years ago, realize it's not about 2,000 years ago. It's about the teachings and how we bring those teachings together to the world, those universal truths. When you look at all of the writings, they all say the same thing in certain places, but then they're surrounded by a bunch of extraneous stuff that was added on. That's what the internet is, and a lot of people are very much invested in this idea, that is out there on the internet, the pop culture. Well, let's talk about the internet for a second. The internet is a repository of information. A lot of it's not true. A lot of it is based upon something they saw somewhere else. And a lot of these people who are claiming to know, and you can count me in this because I'm someone who's obviously claiming to know, right? They don't know. And, for all you know, I could be wrong. It only matters what rings true to your heart. And if you can start to keep having the eyes to see universal truths in the here and now and putting them into practice, we can change the world. And I will continue to talk about my past life stuff if that's of interest. But my goal is every time I talk about something from the past life, is I bring forward the lesson from that story, the reason for that story, the universal truth that is the kernel of that story. That's important to me. But it's also important that we talk about what's happening here and now, and spotting those moments where pop culture is showing us a universal truth. Or sometimes you'll bump into somebody in the street who will say a universal truth. Remember the movie Bruce Almighty? And all the way through the whole movie, there's this bum with a sign, and at the end you find out the bum was God, right? And so, back in the 60s, the Peter Sellers movie, oh God, I can't remember the name of it now. But at the end, he was Chauncey Gardner, right? At the end, all the way through the movie, you think he's just a guy who's just not that bright. And at the end, he walks on water. There's so much going on in the world that is here and now, but so is God. God is in the here and now. God, universal consciousness, God, whatever. I'm going to keep saying God because that's what I grew up with, and I think God is a great all-encompassing word for it all anyway. But when I say God, I'm never talking about a bearded guy on a cloud. I'm talking about the universal energy that's around us, and God is love. And the point of this video is this: spirituality is in the here and now. The information from 2,000 years ago, interesting, fascinating, can learn from it. But you have to live it in the here and now. You have to be in the here and now and live it fully. And if we can start to realize that the lessons aren't then, the lessons are now, and just start to notice it in things you read, and what people are saying, what movies are saying, what scripts are written, you'll start to see it all around you. Universal truth. My son, when he was 6, I said this in a different one. When he was 6 years old, told me, God is in everything and everyone, and we control the God part inside of us. We control the energy that's inside of us. That's what he told me when he was 6 years old. He also told me, he put his hand out one day, and his grandfather had passed away. He put his hand out. He says, Daddy, I'm touching Grandpa. And I said, what do you mean I'm touching Grandpa? He said, well, when Grandpa died, he became energy, and everything is energy, and I'm touching Grandpa right now. He says, I'm also touching you. I said, why? How's that? He says, because the air is energy, and the floor is energy, your energy, it's all energy, so I'm touching you. He understood that. He may have heard that from his grandmother or something, but at that young age, he understood it. He had a grasp of it. He understood it as truth. And that's the kind of thing that I think is most important, is we take this information that we've gotten from 2,000 years ago, from 100 years ago, from 1,500 years ago, from yesterday, from last night on television, from this morning talking to your family, and we start to find the universal truth. We start to have the eyes to see the universal truths, and we start living them. So that is my morning thought today. It's morning for me. It is 7:30 in the morning. I just got back from taking my son to school, and I'm sure that I'll put another video out because I'm kind of addicted to putting videos out right now. But you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you soon. See you. Bye.